Hi there YouTube, Big G back again. While doing my previous video, the Space Monster game for the video pack G7000, it got me thinking, why did I actually enjoy playing that game back in the day? I mean, while playing the game, it was very apparent that the graphics were very poor. The gameplay was actually, strictly speaking, not good at all. Controls, mediocre. Was it just nostalgia? Or what made us enjoy that game? Now, this got me thinking. If I had to compare today's games, the modern games that my son plays, I mean, he's playing all the latest games off the internet, compared to the games I played when I was of a similar age. Why did I enjoy those games back then? So I started comparing these games, and one of the things that's very apparent is the packaging that a game came with back in the day. And I'm going to use an example. Let me just grab it over here. Now, I've got a video pack game here, and you saw in one of my previous posts how poor the games are on the Philips G7000 video pack. I mean, you cannot get really more primitive than that. Yet it sold a lot of games, yet we played them, yet we enjoyed them. Why? Now here's a good example of the point that I'm trying to bring across. Quest for the Rings for the Philips G7000. A very primitive game. I've played it. Gameplay is not good at all if you compare it to today's standards. But the packaging is what made it so different to today's games. When my son gets his pocket money, often he uses it to download the latest DLC content for the latest game. What does he have? He has nothing physical. It's downloaded off the internet. There's nothing tangible. It simply sits on his PC and he plays the latest game. Yes, it may have the most fantastic graphics, the most brilliant sound, 7.1 sound systems, gameplay out of this world, multi-online play that you cannot believe. Yet he has nothing tangible. He has a game, very primitive, yet I've got something tangible in my hands. And I think this is what makes gaming, over the decades so different. Now, let's have a look at this game. As an example, I'm going to be using this, and this is a good example of a very primitive game that was done so well when it came to its packaging. Let's open up the box, and I'll just give you a brief demonstration of what it entailed. Because the gameplay was so poor, the graphics was poor, the sound was almost non-existent, they had to come up with a lot of other areas that had to immerse you in that game, that had to get your imagination flowing, had to bring you inside the game, and in order for you to enjoy it. Now, the first thing that becomes very apparent when you open up the game is that it actually came with a full-size, well-designed cardboard. You can see it folds up. Map of the world. So this gave you, although the game itself couldn't give you the graphic, it didn't have the graphical ability to show you the world that you were actually going to be playing the game in, they had to come up with another idea. And what better way than for a fold-up map? Great. Now, together with that, you actually came with a keyboard overlay. Now, the Philips video pack has a very primitive keyboard, so they had to come up with another novel way of immersing you in that particular world. And you can see there, this fits over the keyboard, and certain of the buttons of the keyboard that actually you interact with are highlighted, such as start, no ring, the different monsters, the dragons and so forth. And again, done very well, high quality keyboard overlay, and it added to the game. We still haven't played the game, but at this stage I can remember when you got these games, or I'm thinking specifically of my Spectra Video or my Spectrum games, the machines that I had growing up. You sat there, you read the instructions from cover to cover. You were already living in that world that the game was immersing you in before you actually even loaded up the game. Actually loading the game and playing the game was most probably the part that actually let a lot of the games down. Now here's another little overlay for the actual game world. And then besides the cartridge that it came with, it then had some more tangible parts to the game. It included, in order for you to move your little characters around on the screen, very much like the old Dungeons and Dragons type games, it had little plastic markers, as well as very well made little metal markers. Now the game itself, as I said, very basic, very frustrating game to play. I've played it a bit now and then, come back to it a couple of times. I could never really play it a lot because of the frustration level and because it's so basic. Yet a game like this would have kept me immersed. If I had this game back in the day, I would have played this for days. I would have spent weekends playing this game over and over. More than likely would have finished the game if it could be finished, although most of these games were repetitive. So the point I'm getting across is we've moved from a world where in the 70s and 80s where you had a tangible game, you actually ended up with something that you held in your hands, a cartridge, the instruction manuals, the box art, everything like that actually immersed you in the world. Then the gameplay was just the final part of the puzzle. And to a world now that we live in where you actually have no tangible game at all. You download it off the internet, pay your money, play the game, and that's it. The world that you live in is fully brought to you around the actual gameplay in the actual game itself on your computer. Now, this is obviously just the way that things have gone. It's just a thought around it. Why did I enjoy the games back in the day? It's because I had something tangible. I had a manual. My son has never read a manual before. He's never read the instructions. He's never had to sit there and have to faff around with the box and actually, before he actually got the game going. Now he just jumps straight in and he plays the game. And I think this has a lot to do with why first-person shooters and that sort of games are so popular these days. I think most of the games nowadays is around that sort of genre of games. And whereas in my day it was more around mazes, platformers, role plays, arcade type games. The technology wasn't there for first-person shooters, but the world was brought to you. Your imagination was sparked, was kicked into gear through the actual tangible bits that were available to the game makers. I think it's a great pity that things have changed over the years, that we don't have this tangible art or tangible boxes or anything tangible to do with gaming. And I think this is one of the reasons why I actually enjoy collecting these vintage games. I enjoy having the tangible product in my hands. Well guys, that's a bit of a ramble from me around my thoughts around games back in the day, the retro games versus games that the guys are actually currently playing now at the moment. Give me your thoughts. Do you agree with me? Don't you agree with me? Thanks guys. Cheers.